What if I told you that a simple quarter sitting in a drawer, a coin that millions of people have seen before, could be worth far more than its face value? And what if the difference between an ordinary quarter and a potentially valuable collector's piece came down to one tiny detail that most people never even notice? Today, we're diving into the fascinating story of the 1965 Washington $quarter coin. A coin surrounded by curiosity, collector excitement, and the possibility of hidden value. Imagine you're cleaning out an old jar of coins that has been sitting in your house for years. You casually pick up a quarter, glance at the date, and notice it says 1965. Most people would toss it aside without a second thought. But experienced coin collectors know that certain coins from this period can be surprisingly interesting. The 1965 quarter sits at a unique point in American history, and understanding why has turned this seemingly ordinary coin into a topic of fascination among collectors. To understand the significance of the 1965 quarter, we need to travel back to the mid-1960s. At that time, the United States was facing a serious coin shortage. Silver prices were rising, and people were hoarding silver coins because the metal inside them was becoming more valuable. The U.S. Mint had to act quickly to keep coins circulating in everyday commerce. Before 1965, Washington quarters were made with 90% silver. But beginning in 1965, the composition changed dramatically. Instead of precious silver, quarters were produced using a copper-nickel-clad composition. This change marked one of the biggest transitions in modern American coinage history. Now, when collectors talk about a 1965 Washington quarter, there is often confusion surrounding the term. Every regular Washington quarter features George Washington on the front. However, many collectors use unusual descriptions when discussing errors, varieties, worn examples, or mysterious coins that appear different from normal issues. This confusion has fueled online discussions and collector speculation for years. The real attraction is not necessarily an ordinary 1965 quarter itself. The excitement comes from the possibility of rare mint errors, unusual varieties, transitional pieces, or exceptionally preserved examples that can command impressive premiums in the collector market. Think about it this way. Imagine two identical-looking cars parked side by side. One is a common production model, while the other is an extremely rare prototype worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. To most people, they look nearly the same, but collectors know the difference. The same principle applies to coins. One of the biggest problems this coin solves for collectors is the search for rarity and historical significance. In the world of coin collecting, people are constantly hunting for hidden treasures. Most coins are common, but every so often, a coin emerges with a unique characteristic that sets it apart from millions of others. The 1965 quarter represents a major turning point in U.S. monetary history. It tells the story of economic pressures, changing metal values, and government decisions that affected every American. For collectors, owning a piece of that history provides a tangible connection to a transformative era. When discussing technology, we're not talking about blockchain or cryptocurrency networks. Instead, we're talking about minting technology. The U.S. Mint utilized advanced coin production techniques for its time, creating billions of coins to meet public demand. The quarters-clad construction was a technological solution designed to reduce dependence on silver. Rather than producing coins from expensive precious metals, the mint layered different metals together to create durable, cost-effective currency. This innovation allowed the government to continue producing coins efficiently while controlling costs. What makes things even more interesting is the possibility of mint errors. During periods of massive production, mistakes can happen. Off-center strikes, doubled dies, planchet errors, and other manufacturing anomalies can transform an ordinary coin into a prized collectible. Imagine a factory producing millions of products every day. Occasionally, something unusual slips through quality control. In most industries, that mistake reduces value. In coin collecting, that mistake can dramatically increase value. The story behind the 1965 quarter also involves the United States Mint itself. Unlike modern cryptocurrencies that often have identifiable founders, development teams, and corporate organizations, this coin was created through a government institution with a long history of producing American currency. The U.S. Mint had an enormous challenge during the 1960s. Coin shortages threatened everyday commerce. People needed coins for vending machines, parking meters, public transportation, and daily transactions. The Mint's solution changed the future of American coinage forever. As a result, the 1965 quarter became more than just pocket change. It became a symbol of adaptation during a period of economic transition. When it comes to market performance, this is where things become especially exciting for collectors. Most circulated 1965 quarters are worth close to face value. That's the reality. However, certain examples can be worth significantly more. Condition plays a massive role. A coin preserved in pristine, uncirculated condition can command a premium. Professional grading services evaluate coins based on factors such as wear, luster, strike quality, and overall preservation. Collectors often pay substantial amounts for top-grade examples because they are much harder to find than people realize. A coin may have survived for decades, but surviving without scratches, wear, or damage is an entirely different story. Then there are the error coins. A rare mint error can transform a coin worth 25 cents into something worth hundreds, thousands, or even more depending on the rarity and collector demand. This possibility keeps treasure hunters searching through rolls of coins, estate collections, and forgotten jars every single day. Why are people still talking about this coin decades after it was produced? Part of the answer is simple: the thrill of discovery. Everyone loves the idea of finding something valuable in an unexpected place. It's the same reason people watch treasure hunting shows, search antique stores, or explore flea markets. The possibility of uncovering hidden value is deeply exciting. Social media has amplified this fascination. Videos showing supposedly rare quarters often attract millions of views. Headlines claiming that certain coins could be worth enormous sums spread rapidly across the internet. Some of these stories are exaggerated. Others are based on legitimate collector demand. The challenge is separating fact from hype. The 1965 quarter sits right at the center of this phenomenon. It is old enough to feel historic but common enough that many people still encounter one from time to time. That combination creates endless curiosity. However, there are risks and challenges that every collector should understand. One major challenge is misinformation. The internet is filled with claims about ordinary coins being worth life-changing amounts of money. While genuinely valuable examples do exist, most coins do not fall into that category. Another challenge is authentication. Determining whether a coin is truly rare often requires expertise. Professional grading services and experienced numismatists play an important role in verifying authenticity and value. Condition assessment can also be difficult for beginners. A tiny scratch or subtle sign of wear may dramatically affect a coin's value. What appears perfect to an inexperienced eye may receive a lower grade from professionals. Market demand is another factor. Like any collectible market, coin values can fluctuate. Popularity, collector interest, economic conditions, and rarity all influence prices. Looking toward the future, the outlook for historically significant coins remains intriguing. As time passes, fewer high-quality examples survive. Coins become lost, damaged, melted, or permanently removed from circulation. This gradual reduction in available supply can increase collector interest in well-preserved specimens. The 1965 quarter also occupies a special place in American coin history because it marks the beginning of the post-silver era. Future generations may continue to view it as an important transitional piece. Technology is also changing the collecting landscape. Online marketplaces, digital grading databases, and global collector communities make it easier than ever for enthusiasts to buy, sell, research, and authenticate coins. This increased accessibility could help sustain long-term interest in coins like the 1965 quarter. Picture a young collector discovering one of these quarters today. They research its history, learn about the silver transition, study mint errors, and begin building a collection. That journey often starts with a single coin and grows into a lifelong passion. And that's ultimately what makes the 1965 quarter so compelling. It's not just metal. It's history you can hold in your hand. It's a reminder of a major economic shift. It's a puzzle waiting to be solved. It's a treasure hunt that continues more than half a century later. Some people see only 25 cents. Others see a story stretching across decades of American history. So the next time you come across an old quarter, don't dismiss it too quickly. Take a closer look. Check the date. Examine the details. Research the possibilities. You never know what you might discover. The world of coin collecting is filled with surprises, and the 1965 quarter proves that extraordinary stories can hide in the most ordinary places. If you enjoyed this journey into one of America's most talked about collectible coins, make sure to stay curious, keep learning, and always check your pocket change. Because sometimes history, mystery, and opportunity are sitting right in the palm of your hand, waiting for someone to notice. What if I told you that a simple 25-cent coin sitting in a drawer, a coin that millions of people have handled without a second thought, could be worth far more than its face value? Imagine finding a quarter in an old collection, looking at the date, seeing 1966, and suddenly realizing that this ordinary-looking piece of metal has become the center of a fascinating treasure hunt. Today, we're diving deep into the story of the 1966 Washington quarter, a coin surrounded by collector interest, historical significance, and the exciting possibility that hidden value could still be waiting to be discovered. The 1966 Washington quarter is one of the most recognizable coins in American history. At first glance, it looks like any other quarter. It features the familiar portrait of George Washington on the front and the classic eagle design on the reverse. Millions of these coins were produced during the mid-1960s, a period when the United States Mint was facing major challenges related to coin shortages and rising silver prices. To understand why the 1966 quarter matters, we need to travel back in time. During the early 1960s, people began hoarding silver coins because the value of the silver inside them was increasing. As a result, coins started disappearing from circulation. The U.S. government needed a solution. In 1965, the Mint removed silver from quarters and switched to a copper-nickel-clad composition. This decision dramatically changed American coinage forever. The 1966 Washington quarter belongs to this important transition period. It represents a moment when the U.S. monetary system was adapting to economic realities. While older quarters contained silver, the 1966 version was made primarily of copper and nickel. That may sound less exciting than precious metal content, but this historical context is exactly what makes the coin interesting to collectors today. Now you might be wondering, what problem did this coin solve? Unlike a cryptocurrency that aims to solve digital payment issues or decentralized finance challenges, the 1966 quarter helped address a real-world monetary crisis. The United States needed a coin that could be produced efficiently, distributed widely, and used by everyday Americans without relying on expensive silver. Think about it this way. Imagine a country where people start pulling money out of circulation because the metal inside becomes more valuable than the face value stamped on the coin. Businesses struggle to make change. Vending machines become difficult to operate. Daily transactions slow down. The 1966 quarter was part of the government's answer to that problem. By using less expensive materials, the Mint could continue producing large quantities of quarters and keep commerce moving smoothly. The technology behind the coin may not involve blockchain or smart contracts, but it reflects impressive engineering for its time. The clad composition used in the 1966 quarter consists of an inner copper core sandwiched between outer layers of copper-nickel alloy. This design created a durable coin that could withstand years of circulation while remaining cost-effective to manufacture. The minting process itself is a remarkable achievement. Massive presses struck detailed images onto metal blanks at high speed and with incredible precision. Every line on Washington's portrait, every feather on the eagle, and every letter on the coin had to be transferred accurately. Millions of coins rolled off production lines, yet collectors today search carefully for tiny differences, errors, and unusual characteristics that can transform an ordinary quarter into a valuable collectible. One fascinating aspect of the 1966 quarter is the absence of a mint mark. During the coin shortage years from 1965 through 1967, the U.S. Mint temporarily removed mint marks from coins. The goal was to discourage collectors from hoarding newly minted coins from specific locations. As a result, 1966 quarters do not display the familiar letters that identify where they were produced. This detail has become a key part of the coin's identity. Collectors often refer to these pieces as no-mint mark quarters, even though that feature was intentional. It represents a unique chapter in American numismatic history. When discussing the background behind the coin, we must also talk about the institution responsible for its creation. The United States Mint has a long and respected history dating back to the late 18th century. Its mission has always been to produce coinage for commerce while maintaining quality and public trust. The 1966 quarter emerged from a period of innovation and adaptation, showing how the Mint responded to economic pressures while continuing to meet national demand. Now let's talk about market performance, because this is where many people become especially interested. Most circulated 1966 quarters are worth close to face value. However, the story changes dramatically when we examine coins in exceptional condition or those featuring rare minting errors. Collectors are willing to pay significant premiums for high-grade examples. Coins that appear nearly perfect, with sharp details and minimal wear, can command impressive prices at auctions. Error coins are even more exciting. Double strikes, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and other unusual manufacturing mistakes can attract intense collector demand. Imagine two quarters sitting side by side. One is an ordinary 1966 quarter worth 25 cents. The other has a rare minting error that occurred for just a fraction of a second during production. To most people, they may look similar. To a knowledgeable collector, the difference could mean hundreds or even thousands of dollars. This possibility is one reason why people continue searching through old coin jars, inherited collections, and forgotten storage boxes. The thrill of discovery keeps the hobby alive. Every coin carries a story, and occasionally that story comes with unexpected value. So why are people talking about the 1966 Washington quarter today? The answer lies in a combination of nostalgia, treasure hunting, historical interest, and the growing popularity of collectibles. In an age dominated by digital assets, virtual currencies, and online investments, many people find comfort in tangible collectibles. A coin is something you can hold in your hand. It has weight, texture, and history, connects you directly to another era. Social media has also fueled renewed interest. Videos featuring rare coin discoveries regularly attract millions of views. Stories of valuable coins found in pocket change capture people's imagination. Viewers start wondering whether they might have hidden treasures of their own. The 1966 quarter often appears in these discussions because it belongs to an important historical period. Collectors enjoy examining examples for unusual features, while beginners appreciate that the coin is relatively accessible. Unlike extremely rare 19th century coins, a 1966 quarter can still be found without spending a fortune. However, every collectible market comes with risks and challenges. One of the biggest risks is misinformation. Many online posts exaggerate values and create unrealistic expectations. Someone might hear that a 1966 quarter sold for thousands of dollars and assume every example is worth a fortune. The reality is more nuanced. Condition matters enormously. Rarity matters. Authentication matters. A common circulated coin is very different from a pristine high-grade specimen or a documented error coin. Another challenge is grading. Professional coin grading requires expertise and consistency. Small differences in condition can have a major impact on value. Beginners sometimes overestimate the quality of their coins, leading to disappointment when professional evaluations reveal lower grades. Market demand can also fluctuate. While collectible coins have demonstrated long-term appeal, prices can rise and fall depending on collector interest, economic conditions, and broader market trends. Like any collectible, there are no guarantees. Looking toward the future, what possibilities exist for the 1966 Washington quarter? While nobody can predict markets with certainty, several factors suggest continued interest. First, history never goes out of style. Coins from significant periods remain attractive because they represent important moments in a nation's story. The transition away from silver coinage was a major event in American monetary history, and the 1966 quarter sits right in the middle of that transformation. Second, younger generations are increasingly discovering coin collecting through online content. Educational videos, auction highlights, and collector communities introduce new audiences to the hobby every day. Fresh interest helps sustain demand over time. Third, exceptional examples will likely remain desirable. High-grade coins become harder to find as years pass. Many coins were heavily circulated, damaged, or lost. As surviving top-quality examples become more appreciated, collector competition may continue. Perhaps the most exciting possibility is that valuable discoveries are still waiting to happen. Somewhere, in a forgotten box, an inherited collection, or a jar of old change, there may be a remarkable 1966 quarter that has never been professionally examined. That possibility keeps collectors searching. The story of the 1966 Washington quarter is ultimately about more than money. It's about history, curiosity, and the excitement of discovery. It reminds us that ordinary objects can carry extraordinary stories. A coin that once bought a newspaper, a snack, or a bus ride now serves as a connection to a pivotal moment in American economic history. Every collector remembers the thrill of finding something unexpected. Maybe it's a rare date. Maybe it's an unusual error. Maybe it's simply a beautifully preserved coin that survived decades in remarkable condition. The 1966 quarter continues to inspire that sense of possibility. So the next time you come across a handful of old change, don't rush to spend it. Take a closer look. Examine the dates. Study the details. Learn the stories behind the coins. You never know what you might find. And if you enjoyed this journey into the world of collectible coins, make sure to keep exploring, keep learning, and keep searching. Because sometimes the most fascinating treasures aren't hidden in distant places. Sometimes they're already sitting in your pocket, waiting for someone curious enough to notice them.
What if I told you that a single quarter hiding in a pocket, coin jar, or forgotten drawer could be worth far more than 25 cents? Imagine finding a coin that millions of people have handled, yet only a tiny number of collectors truly understand its value. Today, we're diving into one of the most talked about coins among collectors and treasure hunters alike, the 1967 Washington quarter. And while it may look like an ordinary piece of spare change, its story, rarity factors, and potential value have turned it into a fascinating target for coin enthusiasts around the world. The 1967 Washington quarter is not a cryptocurrency, not a digital token, and not something stored on a blockchain. Instead, it's a physical coin with a history that stretches back decades. Yet in many ways, the excitement surrounding rare coins can feel surprisingly similar to the hype people experience in the crypto world. People search for hidden gems, hunt for undervalued assets, and dream of discovering something extraordinary that others have overlooked. To understand why the 1967 Washington quarter attracts so much attention, we need to travel back to the 1960s. During that period, the United States was facing a coin shortage. Americans were hoarding silver coins because the value of the silver content was rising. To help address the problem, the U.S. Mint made several changes to coin production. One of the most important changes involved removing mint marks from coins between 1965 and 1967. This brings us to the phrase that often creates confusion: the 1967 no mint mark Washington quarter. Many people hear the term no mint mark and immediately assume they have discovered a rare error coin. But here's the twist. In 1967, quarters were intentionally produced without mint marks. That means the absence of a mint mark is actually normal for coins from that year. At first glance, that might sound disappointing, but the story doesn't end there. The real excitement begins when collectors start looking for exceptional examples, unusual errors, and coins preserved in remarkable condition. Think about it like this. Imagine two identical cars produced in the same year. One has been driven hundreds of thousands of miles and shows heavy wear. The other has been stored carefully in a climate-controlled garage and looks almost brand new decades later. Which one would collectors value more? The same principle applies to coins. Most 1967 Washington quarters circulated heavily. They passed through cash registers, vending machines, banks, and countless hands. As a result, many surviving examples show scratches, wear, and damage. However, finding a pristine example with sharp details, strong luster, and exceptional preservation can be much more challenging. The technology behind this coin isn't blockchain technology or smart contracts. Instead, it's the manufacturing process used by the United States Mint. The 1967 quarter was struck using a copper-nickel clad composition rather than the older 90% silver composition used before 1965. This represented a major shift in American coinage. The coin features the familiar portrait of George Washington on the front and the eagle design on the reverse. Millions upon millions of these quarters were produced, which is why ordinary examples remain common today. Yet collectors often focus on the details that separate ordinary coins from extraordinary ones. One of the most exciting areas involves mint errors. Throughout coin collecting history, production mistakes have created some of the most valuable and desirable coins in existence. A coin might be struck off-center. It could have a double design. It might contain a die crack or another unusual characteristic created during the minting process. When such errors appear on a 1967 Washington quarter, the value can increase dramatically depending on the rarity and severity of the mistake. This is where the treasure hunting aspect comes alive. Every time someone examines an old coin collection, there's a possibility, however small, that they could discover an overlooked error worth significantly more than face value. Unlike a cryptocurrency project, there is no development team managing the future of the 1967 Washington quarter. There are no software upgrades, no governance votes, and no roadmap. Instead, the coin story is tied directly to American history, the U.S. Mint, and the generations of collectors who continue to study and trade these pieces. The background of the Washington Quarter series itself is fascinating. Introduced in 1932 to honor George Washington, the quarter became one of the most recognizable coins in American history. By the time 1967 arrived, the series had already been circulating for decades. The coin became part of everyday life, yet few people imagined that certain examples would eventually become collector's items. Now let's talk about market performance and growth potential. This is where things become especially interesting. Most circulated 1967 quarters remain worth close to their face value. However, high-grade examples certified by professional grading services can command significantly higher prices. Some exceptional specimens have sold for hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on condition and rarity. Why does condition matter so much? Because collectors are constantly competing for the finest known examples. In many cases, the difference between a coin graded as merely excellent and one graded as nearly perfect can translate into a huge price difference. Imagine two quarters sitting side by side. To an untrained eye, they might look almost identical. Yet professional graders can identify subtle distinctions in luster, strike quality, surface preservation, and eye appeal. Those small differences can have a massive impact on value. This competitive pursuit of perfection is one reason people continue talking about the 1967 Washington quarter today. Collectors love the challenge. They love the possibility of finding a hidden gem. And they love the thrill of discovering that something ordinary may actually be extraordinary. Social media has amplified this excitement. Videos about valuable coins regularly attract millions of views. Stories of people finding rare coins in pocket change spread rapidly across the internet. Whether every story is true or not, the idea captures people's imagination. After all, who doesn't enjoy the possibility of hidden treasure? Many collectors remember the moment they first discovered that everyday objects could have unexpected value. A coin found in a grandparent's collection, a forgotten jar of change, a handful of quarters received as change from store. These experiences transform ordinary money into something far more exciting. Of course, there are risks and challenges. One of the biggest dangers is misinformation. Online articles and videos sometimes exaggerate values to attract attention. Someone may hear that a 1967 quarter sold for thousands of dollars and assume every example is worth the same amount. In reality, value depends heavily on condition, authenticity, grading, and specific characteristics. Most 1967 quarters are not rare. Most are not worth a fortune. Understanding this distinction is crucial for anyone entering the hobby. Another challenge is proper identification. Beginners often mistake normal features for rare errors. They may overlook important details or misunderstand what collectors actually seek. That's why education plays such an important role in coin collecting. There is also the challenge of preservation. Coins can lose value if they're improperly cleaned or damaged. Ironically, attempting to make an old coin look better can sometimes reduce its worth. Experienced collectors generally recommend leaving potentially valuable coins in their original condition until they can be evaluated properly. Looking toward the future, what possibilities exist for the 1967 Washington quarter? While no one can predict prices with certainty, interest in coin collecting appears remarkably resilient. New generations continue discovering the hobby through social media, online marketplaces, and educational content. As more people learn about collectible coins, demand for exceptional examples may remain strong. The best condition specimens are likely to continue attracting attention because truly outstanding examples become increasingly difficult to find over time. Error coins may also remain desirable due to their uniqueness and scarcity. At the same time, the quarter's greatest value may not always be financial. For many collectors, these coins represent history. They provide a tangible connection to a different era. They tell stories about economics, manufacturing, and everyday American life. That connection is something digital assets cannot fully replicate. When you hold a 1967 Washington quarter, you're holding an object that has physically existed through decades of history. It may have traveled across states, passed through thousands of hands, and witnessed countless moments before arriving in your collection. And that's what makes this coin so fascinating. It's not just a quarter. It's a piece of history. It's a collectible. It's a treasure hunt. It's a lesson in value, rarity, and the importance of looking closely at things others overlook. The next time you receive change from a cashier or sort through an old coin collection, pay attention. That ordinary-looking quarter might have a story waiting to be discovered. It might not be worth a fortune, but it could spark a journey into one of the most exciting hobbies in the world. So before you dismiss that old pocket change, take a closer look. Learn the details. Study the dates. Understand the history. Because sometimes the most interesting treasures aren't hidden in secret vaults or buried underground. Sometimes they're sitting quietly in plain sight, waiting for someone curious enough to notice them. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the 1967 Washington quarter, make sure to keep exploring the fascinating world of rare coins. There are countless stories, mysteries, and discoveries still waiting to be uncovered. And who knows? Your next great find could be closer than you think.
What if I told you that a single quarter hiding in an old drawer, a forgotten coin jar, or a dusty collection could be worth far more than 25 cents? And what if that coin came from one of the most recognizable pieces of American currency ever made? Today, we're diving into the fascinating story of the 1968 Washington $quarter coin, a coin surrounded by curiosity, collector excitement, and the kind of mystery that keeps treasure hunters searching through their spare change decades later. At first glance, the 1968 Washington quarter looks like an ordinary coin. Millions of Americans handled these quarters every day. They bought groceries, paid for parking, and disappeared into cash registers across the country. Most people never gave them a second thought. But among collectors, certain unusual versions and rare errors from this era have become highly sought-after treasures. To understand why this coin generates so much attention, we need to go back to 1968. The United States Mint was producing massive numbers of coins to meet growing demand. America was changing rapidly, and coin production was working overtime. The Washington quarter had already become one of the most familiar coins in circulation. Featuring George Washington on the front and the iconic eagle design on the back, it was a symbol of American history carried in millions of pockets every day. Now, when people talk about a 1968 No Washington $quarter coin, there is often confusion surrounding the name. Some collectors use the phrase when discussing unusual mint errors, missing details, or rare varieties associated with the Washington Quarter series. And that confusion is part of what makes the coin so intriguing. In the world of coin collecting, small differences can create massive value. A tiny mistake made during the minting process can transform an ordinary coin into something collectors dream about finding. Unlike a cryptocurrency that aims to solve digital financial problems, the appeal of a rare 1968 quarter solves a different kind of problem. It gives collectors something incredibly valuable: scarcity. In a world where billions of coins exist, rarity creates excitement. Collectors are constantly searching for hidden gems that stand apart from the crowd. The possibility that an everyday coin could secretly be worth hundreds, thousands, or even more creates an almost treasure-hunting experience. Imagine opening an old piggy bank. Most people expect a handful of ordinary change. But collectors know that sometimes history hides in plain sight. That possibility drives the entire coin-collecting market. It transforms a simple quarter into a mystery waiting to be solved. The technology behind the coin may not involve blockchain, smart contracts, or decentralized networks, but it does involve something equally fascinating: the precision of coin production. Every Washington quarter is created through a detailed minting process. Large sheets of metal are cut into blanks. These blanks are prepared, polished, and stamped under enormous pressure using specially engraved dies. When everything works perfectly, the result is a standard coin. But when something goes wrong, the magic happens. A die may become damaged. A detail may fail to transfer properly. A mint mark could be missing. A strike may occur off-center. These errors create unique pieces that stand out from the billions of normal coins. Collectors spend years studying these production techniques because understanding how errors occur helps identify genuine rarities. It's almost like forensic science. Every unusual mark tells a story. Every missing detail raises questions. Every rare variety becomes a puzzle waiting to be solved. The Washington Quarter series itself has a remarkable history. First introduced in 1932 to honor George Washington's 200th birthday, the design became one of the longest-running coin series in American history. By 1968, the coin had already been part of everyday American life for more than 3 decades. One important change had recently taken place. In 1965, the U.S. Mint stopped producing quarters made primarily from silver and switched to a copper-nickel-clad composition. This transition dramatically changed the appearance and intrinsic value of the coin. Collectors today often separate pre-1965 silver quarters from later-clad quarters, making the late 1960s an especially interesting period in numismatic history. There isn't a celebrity founder, crypto development team, or startup company behind the 1968 Washington Quarter. Instead, its story is connected to the United States Mint, one of the oldest institutions in American history. The Mint's responsibility was simple yet monumental: produce reliable currency for an entire nation. But even within such a structured system, unexpected variations emerged, creating collectibles that continue to capture attention decades later. Now let's talk about market performance, because this is where things get exciting. A standard 1968 Washington Quarter in circulated condition is usually worth only face value or slightly more. That part surprises many newcomers. After all, not every old coin is automatically valuable. Age alone doesn't create rarity. However, specific high-grade examples, unusual errors, and rare varieties can command significantly higher prices. Coin collectors place enormous value on condition. A quarter that looks nearly perfect after more than 50 years can become dramatically more desirable than one that spent decades bouncing around in circulation. Think about 2 identical cars built in the same year. One has been driven hundreds of thousands of miles and shows heavy wear. The other has been preserved in a garage and looks almost brand new. The difference in value can be enormous. Coins operate the same way. Professional grading services examine coins under magnification and assign condition ratings. A tiny improvement in grade can sometimes mean a huge jump in market value. That's why collectors carefully inspect every detail. from the sharpness of Washington's hair to the quality of the eagle feathers on the reverse. In recent years, interest in coin collecting has experienced renewed momentum. Social media videos showing rare coins worth thousands of dollars have introduced a new generation to the hobby. Suddenly, people who never cared about pocket change are examining jars of coins inherited from grandparents. This trend has fueled excitement around coins from the 1960s, including the 1968 Washington quarter. Online marketplaces, auction platforms, and collector communities have made information more accessible than ever before. A collector in one part of the world can instantly connect with buyers and experts thousands of miles away. And that's one reason people keep talking about this coin. The appeal isn't just about money. It's about discovery. Humans love treasure hunts. We love finding something valuable where nobody expected it. The idea that a rare coin could be hiding in an old collection taps directly into that excitement. Every collector remembers the thrill of finding an unusual piece. Every search carries the possibility of uncovering something special. Stories circulate online about people discovering valuable coins in inherited collections, estate sales, flea markets, and forgotten storage boxes. Whether the value is modest or substantial, the emotional excitement remains the same. There's also a powerful historical connection. Holding a 1968 quarter means holding a piece of American history. This coin existed during a turbulent and transformative period. It passed through countless hands, witnessed decades of change, and survived long enough to become a collectible artifact. Of course, there are risks and challenges. One of the biggest challenges is misinformation. The internet is filled with claims that every old coin is worth a fortune. Unfortunately, that's simply not true. Many collectors become disappointed after discovering that their ordinary coin isn't the rare treasure they hoped for. Another challenge involves authentication. As values increase, counterfeit coins become a concern. Some altered coins are designed to imitate valuable errors or rare varieties. That's why experienced collectors rely on professional grading services and trusted experts before making significant purchases. Market fluctuations also play a role. Coin values can rise and fall based on collector demand, economic conditions, and broader trends in the collectibles market. Just because a coin sold for a high price once doesn't guarantee the same result in the future. Condition remains another major obstacle. Many potentially valuable coins lose significant value due to scratches, cleaning, damage, or wear. New collectors sometimes make the mistake of cleaning coins, believing it will improve their appearance. Ironically, cleaning can reduce value because collectors generally prefer original surfaces. Looking toward the future, the outlook for interesting Washington quarter varieties remains promising. As more collectors enter the hobby and educational content spreads online, awareness continues growing. Rare examples are unlikely to become more common. In fact, many high-quality specimens become permanently locked away in private collections. The combination of historical significance, collector demand, and limited supply creates a foundation that supports long-term interest. While nobody can predict exact future values, genuinely rare and well-preserved coins tend to remain desirable because their scarcity cannot be recreated. Imagine a young collector discovering a rare 1968 quarter today. Decades from now, that same coin could still be admired, studied, and passed down to future generations. Unlike many modern possessions that become obsolete, collectible coins often gain additional historical significance as time passes. And perhaps that's the most fascinating aspect of all. This isn't just a piece of metal. It's a connection to history, craftsmanship, and the enduring human fascination with rarity. It represents the idea that extraordinary things can sometimes hide within ordinary objects. The next time you receive change, take a closer look. The coin in your hand may not be a rare 1968 Washington quarter. It may not be worth a fortune, but the possibility is what keeps collectors searching. It's what keeps stories alive. It's what transforms everyday pocket change into a world of excitement and discovery. So if you enjoyed learning about the 1968 Washington quarter and the mysteries surrounding rare coin varieties, start exploring your own collection. Check old coin jars, inherited collections, and forgotten boxes tucked away in storage. Learn how to identify errors, understand grading, and recognize the details that collectors value most. Because sometimes the greatest treasure isn't found in a vault, a bank account, or a digital wallet. Sometimes it's hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone curious enough to notice it. And who knows? The next incredible discovery could be sitting just a few feet away from you right now.
What if I told you that a coin worth just 25 cents could be hiding in a drawer, a piggy bank, or an old coin jar right now, and that same coin could potentially be worth hundreds, thousands, or even more to the right collector? Sounds unbelievable, right? But that's exactly why people across America are searching through their spare change, looking for one particular coin, the 1969 Washington quarter with no mint mark. Imagine finding a coin you've ignored for years, only to discover it could be a valuable piece of history. That's the fascinating world of coin collecting, where ordinary-looking coins can turn into extraordinary treasures. Today, we're diving deep into the story of the 1969 Washington $quarter coin, a coin that continues to capture the attention of collectors, investors, and treasure hunters alike. The Washington quarter is one of the most recognizable coins in American history. First introduced in 1932 to honor George Washington, the first president of the United States, the quarter has become a staple of everyday commerce. Millions of people have handled these coins without ever thinking twice about them. But among the billions of quarters produced over the decades, certain years and varieties stand out, and 1969 is one of them. The 1969 Washington quarter was minted during a fascinating period in American coinage. Just a few years earlier, the United States Mint had made a major change to its coin production. Rising silver prices had made it impractical to continue producing circulating quarters with high silver content. As a result, quarters produced after 1964 were struck using a copper-nickel-clad composition rather than silver. The 1969 quarter belongs to this new generation of American coinage. Now, you might be wondering, what makes a 1969 quarter special? After all, millions were produced. The answer lies in rarity, condition, minting variations, and the excitement of discovery. One of the biggest problems that rare coins solve for collectors and investors is accessibility. Unlike expensive artworks or luxury assets, rare coins allow ordinary people to participate in a fascinating market. You don't need millions of dollars to start collecting. Sometimes all it takes is a careful eye and a bit of knowledge. The 1969 Washington quarter represents that possibility. It reminds people that value can be hidden in plain sight. Think about it. Most investments require significant capital. Real estate can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. Stocks require research and financial commitment. But coin collecting offers something unique. A valuable coin can literally be found in circulation, inherited from family members, or discovered in forgotten collections. That's part of the magic. The technology behind the 1969 Washington quarter may not involve blockchain or smart contracts, but it does involve remarkable minting engineering. Every quarter begins as a blank metal disc called a planchet. These planchets are fed through powerful presses that strike the design into the metal with enormous force. The result is a detailed image of George Washington on the front and an eagle on the reverse design used during that era. What makes collectors especially excited are mint errors and high-grade examples. During the minting process, small mistakes can occur. A double die, off-center strike, or other unusual variation can transform an ordinary coin into a highly desirable collectible. These errors are often difficult to spot, which adds an element of treasure hunting to the hobby. For the 1969 quarter, condition is everything. A heavily circulated coin may be worth only face value or slightly more. But a coin preserved in exceptional condition can command dramatically higher prices. Professional grading services examine coins under magnification and assign numerical grades. The difference between an average coin and a top-grade specimen can mean the difference between a few cents and a significant payday. The story behind a coin is also part of its appeal. The late 1960s were a transformative period in American history. The nation was experiencing cultural change, technological advancement, and historic events that shaped generations. Every 1969 quarter is a small piece of that era. When you hold one, you're holding an object that has potentially traveled through decades of American life. Unlike modern digital assets that exist only on screens, this coin is tangible. It has weight. It has texture. It has history. That physical connection is one reason many collectors remain passionate about coins, even in an increasingly digital world. As for the team behind the coin, the creators were the skilled engravers, designers, and mint officials of the United States Mint. The Washington portrait originated from the work of sculptor John Flanagan, whose design became one of the most enduring images in American coinage. The U.S. Mint itself has a long history of producing the nation's coins and maintaining standards of quality and authenticity. Now let's talk about market performance. This is where things get interesting. Most 1969 Washington quarters are not rare enough to make anyone instantly wealthy. However, specific examples in exceptional condition or featuring notable mint errors can attract strong interest from collectors. The coin market operates much like other collectible markets. Scarcity, demand, and condition drive prices. Imagine two identical-looking quarters. One spent decades circulating through cash registers, vending machines, and pockets. The other was carefully preserved from the day it was minted. To the average person, they may look similar. To a collector, they can be worlds apart in value. Over time, interest in collectible coins has continued to grow. Online marketplaces, auction houses, and social media have made it easier than ever for collectors to connect and buy rare coins. This increased visibility has helped bring attention to coins that might otherwise have remained unnoticed. So why are people talking about the 1969 Washington quarter today? Part of the excitement comes from the broader trend of treasure hunting. Videos showing people discovering valuable coins and pocket change regularly attract millions of views. Everyone loves the idea of finding hidden wealth. It's a modern treasure hunt, and the 1969 quarter is one of the coins frequently discussed in these conversations. Another reason is the growing awareness of mint errors. As more educational content becomes available online, people are learning how to identify valuable characteristics in coins. Suddenly, that jar of spare change becomes more than just loose money. It becomes a collection of possibilities. There's also a strong emotional component. Coins connect people to history. They remind us of family members who saved collections, of historical events, and of generations that came before us. Every coin tells a story, and collectors love uncovering those stories. But no discussion would be complete without addressing the risks and challenges. One of the biggest mistakes beginners make is assuming every old coin is valuable. Age alone does not guarantee rarity or high prices. Many people discover a 1969 quarter and immediately believe they've found a fortune. In reality, most examples are relatively common. Another challenge is misinformation. The internet is filled with exaggerated claims about coin values. Some videos and articles suggest ordinary coins are worth enormous sums when those values apply only to extremely rare varieties or top-grade specimens. Understanding the difference is essential. Counterfeits and altered coins also present risks. Unscrupulous individuals sometimes modify coins or misrepresent their condition. That's why professional grading and authentication can be so important when dealing with potentially valuable specimens. Market demand can fluctuate as well. While rare coins have historically maintained collector interest, prices can rise and fall depending on economic conditions and collector trends. Looking ahead, what does the future hold for the 1969 Washington quarter? The future appears promising for exceptional examples. As time passes, high-grade coins become increasingly difficult to find. Many coins have already been lost, damaged, or heavily circulated. This natural reduction in supply can enhance the desirability of well-preserved specimens. The continued growth of online collecting communities may also introduce new generations to the hobby. Young collectors who discover coin hunting through social media today could become serious collectors tomorrow, helping sustain demand for interesting historical coins. Technology may play a role as well. Improved imaging systems, grading tools, and digital marketplaces make it easier than ever to identify, authenticate, and trade collectible coins. These advancements could bring even greater attention to overlooked coins from the past. And perhaps most importantly, the thrill of discovery never goes out of style. Human beings have always been fascinated by hidden treasure. Whether it's an ancient artifact, a rare baseball card, or a collectible coin, the excitement of finding something valuable remains universal. So the next time you come across a 1969 Washington quarter, don't dismiss it as just another coin. Take a closer look. Examine the details. Check the condition. Learn about its history. You may not uncover a life-changing fortune, but you'll gain something equally valuable, a connection to history and a deeper appreciation for the stories hidden in everyday objects. The 1969 Washington quarter proves that extraordinary discoveries don't always come in giant packages. Sometimes they fit right in the palm of your hand. Sometimes they're overlooked for decades. And sometimes they're waiting quietly in a coin jar, ready for someone curious enough to notice. If you enjoyed learning about the 1969 Washington quarter and the fascinating world of coin collecting, make sure to stay curious, keep searching, and never underestimate the value of the things hiding in plain sight. History is all around us, and sometimes the next great discovery is already sitting in your pocket. The question is, will you be the one who finds it?